2 seconds ago, I actually stayed in that Zim call, and I just happened to look at it because I was busy trying to set up this call. Yep. I got in at 99 cents, and I just got out at 150.
Nice. Well, look at you.
Pardon?
I figured, I'm like, it's still around 12 o'clock, so she might still be trading, but I'm glad. Yeah, I guess we'll start off. You joined the program back in April, right?
Yeah, actually, I made my first trade it was right on April 12th, a little more than 6 months ago. And we had set up a position size of $400 at that time. So, and as I looked through all of my trades and I added up everything on the spreadsheet, I actually had a gain of counting this month, partial to over $24,000, which is 60% return in 6 months. Total gain, it was like 24,383 as of last Friday.
24,400 in 6 months.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I know. If a couple of years ago I did retire, so that's when I sort of threw myself into this more of a full-time basis. But over the years, I honestly have joined many services, which I hate to admit that, but I do say this of any service I have been the most impressed with. This is the most amount of money I've made in a 6-month period ever in my whole life, over 35-year trading career, like I said.
It's nothing to be ashamed of. I think everyone, including myself in this industry, I've joined a ton of programs. It's so hard because on the outside, when you're looking to join, everything looks so, because that's how they market it. Like they market it as, oh, this is the greatest thing that's going to work. Obviously, we as individuals, humans give the benefit of the doubt, and then we join, and then we just but no, I'm glad that this finally worked. 6 months and almost 25K is pretty unreal. To do that with, your first month, $400 per trade was your average position.
Yes, I did forget to mention that. I believe it was in August, after one of our one-on-one calls, we increased that to 600 per trade, which is what I'm currently doing. Each position is 600.
Right. So exactly. So in August, so April, May, June, and July, 4 months, we started that $400 per trade position size just to see consistency, right? A lot of people think, oh, they need to trade with like $5,000, $10,000, $6,000 per trade to make $1,000. A lot of people think that they need to, I guess, use a lot of capital per position size, like $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 per trade to make $5,000 a month. And that's where a huge portion of the problems lie. Traders that are failing is because they think they need to do that. Whereas, with yourself, you are making $3,000, $4,000 a month only on $400 trade, which is a huge, speaks a lot about risk management and how well we do when we size down instead of size. So that's great. And now, even 6 months in, you're only at $600 per position size, but you're hitting numbers like $5,000-$6,000 per month. I think, what was it? So first in April, we did $400 per position size, and you took about 19 trades.
Yeah, I don't think I do a lot of trading. I'm pretty selective. I know a lot of the students, and including yourself, you do a lot more trades. I think eventually I may do that, but I just need to build up more of a level of comfortableness, especially in the first hour, the 9:30 to 10:30 trading session.
Yeah. No, that's okay. And everyone's different, right? That's where the versatility and the greatness about the program is that it adapts to everyone based on their specific needs, right? Some people are more aggressive and want to take 60 trades. Some people, like yourself, only are trading less. But you've slowly added to that. I think we started April with 19, May with 25, July 30, August 30, September 38. That's good to see. What do you think was the key thing that kind of changed from before the program and then now that you're in the program? Or
honestly, initially it was the online education that you offer that students can do at their own pace when they first start out before trading, and that I was really impressed with that. I've always followed various patterns, but you really emphasize patterns. I love candles. That's another thing. But two things that were a little different. I really was impressed with how you emphasized discipline, and not just with trading. This is discipline with your life. If you're not going to be watching your diet, exercising, you're going to be out drinking every night. How are you going to be trading? So I thought that was kind of neat, the whole psychological aspect of it and the emotional portion as well, that you definitely need to take emotions out of the equation or you're going to be a mess. And a second thing, more along the technical lines, is I've always followed, support, resistance, trend lines, etc. But the one thing that you really got me set on were what you call pockets. And I not only use that for, the morning trades, which obviously a lot of the students are very successful at, but I translate that out to more of swing trading as well, and I do that with my long-term portfolio with equities. So for me, I not only gain the benefit of the short-term option trading in the morning with all the other students, but I kind of have I've increased my long-term portfolio, which really didn't fall. None of the numbers I spoke about earlier took into account for that. So it's like a win-win for me.
That's another great thing about what we're doing and what we're teaching is a lot of people are like, oh, is it just for day trading? No, you can take it and you can implement it and move it towards a midterm or even swing trade. You don't have to be glued to the computers to actively do it. As long as you understand the system and that pocket strategy and how it works, you can implement it, set your orders where you're kind of in, and then you take a few days for that trade to pan out. And a lot of the times, those few days, that's where we get a big chunk of the return too.
Yes.
Because when you're actively day trading, you're taking maybe a 1% of the underlying, which correlates to around, sometimes 20 to 60% on the option side. But if you actually swing trade that move, now the underlying is going to move maybe 4, 5, 7, 10, 15%. So the option will technically move a lot more as well. But you can also swing trade it with shares and equity.
Yeah, in both too. I actually do longer term options with that as well. I may not have mentioned that previously.
Yeah, so I mean, every month has been green. 2,500 in April, 2,700 in May, June 2,300, July 4,300, August almost 4,000. September was your biggest month, $5,635. It's a nice graph. It's continuously going higher and higher and higher.
I think another thing, obviously, that you teach is as soon as you put in an order, you want to put in another order that's going to, stop you out at a 20% loss. And I never used to do that all the time. I did it occasionally, but now I'm faithfully, and that has made a huge difference.
It's very important to kind of understand that. A lot of people, most traders fail because they fail to protect their downside risk, right? They'll enter a trade, it'll go against them, and they'll be like, okay, well, maybe it'll turn around.
Yeah. Hope.
And a lot of that, yeah, the hope, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're not really knowing why they're entering. Right? When you have a why to enter, and that why is no longer valid, then you just get out of the trade. It doesn't make sense to have a why, and then that why fails, and then now create a new why, right? So that in itself, the system is kind of broken in that regard. Whereas if you're trading technicals and patterns, you have a why, and if that pattern is no longer this pattern, then you exit the trade. That's where the stop loss. But it goes again very hand in hand with position size. The 400 to 600 is something that is very manageable. If you're taking a $400 position, 20% $80. Like you can stomach $80, right? So it's okay.
Right, that's the thing. I don't sit there, nervous and really, really worried. It's just as you said, take the emotions right out of it, and then it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, and then the wins pile up. Right. Next thing you know, you have a bunch of 40, 50% wins, which now have added it to around $5,000. I guess a lot of people that kind of hear me online and see my social media, they're like, bro, there's no way you trade 1 hour a day.
Well, I didn't believe it until I saw it, but I see it almost every morning.
It's something that I not only really love about what we do, but more because it kind of gives me space. One thing people don't understand with trading is that it's so emotionally and it's tiring. It's mentally tiring.
Right.
If you sit in front of the computer 24/7 or from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., it becomes exhausting and you're not ready to be refreshed and start again playing the next day. Obviously, we all take losses, and being a way to step away from the computer when you took that loss and having almost a good 20 hours to just recoup mental capacity makes you become more fresh to do it the next day, which is a lot of new traders fail to do that because they take losses, they continue going back in, they make some back, they give some back. It's a constant battle until they're fully depleted of all energy at 4 p.m. And now they're like, okay, I did all this trading and I'm out like $3,000. So now what?
Yeah.
Now you're angry going to bed, you wake up trying to recoup $3,000, and it's just this big cycle of mess that they're constantly in. Whereas just trade 1 hour, win or lose, you walk away, you have all day to fix your brain and fix your mental capacity.
Well, if I may, that's also one of the things that I really like about this service is there's such a wide array of students in what their strategies are as far as, obviously the morning session is great because that's when you have the biggest moves in price, biggest, volatility. So for folks that have a lot of other things going on in their life, you're in and out in an hour, you make your money and that's great. But at the same token, I've also watched on the Discord channel, there are a significant amount of folks that stay on there all day. And if I do have time and I'm really interested in it, I sit there and I watch and they bounce ideas off of each other back and forth. It's really a great group. I mean, there's such support, and again, there's something for everyone. You can trade your hour, you can trade all day, and it's open.
Definitely, that's the great thing, right? Because there's so much different types of people there. Ones that come in, take advantage of that first hour, and they're like, "Hey, see you later. I got to go to work," or I just don't want to trade anymore. And then there's people that can't trade in the first hour that are coming in at like 11:30, 12 when it's their lunchtime on their trade. The system really allows everyone to kind of get involved. And if the ones that want to stick around, they can. But I think one thing that we've all really focused on is the overtrading aspect. There are obviously a few students that still kind of overtrade, which I speak to regularly. But I think we all do a good job of knowing we're not going to be taking 30 trades a day.
And I do like the fact that the Discord channel is just unreal. There's so much on there. It's mind-boggling. But I like the fact that some of your students that are a lot more experienced that have been with you for a while, they have their own channels, so they're also giving input as far as their trades, whether they be short-term or there's swing trades that are mentioned. So there's a lot for you to look at, to get trading ideas on top of what we talk about in the morning.
It's kind of to say that yes, my style works. Obviously, a lot of students have my style, but also some people just don't like my style. And there's other guys that are in the room that have kind of took the system that I have and adapted their own style toward. They know what to look for now. They know what they need to enter and exit, and they can build their own kind of system or strategy around that.
I do like I guess it's very regimented to me, which I kind of like. The watch list that you put out every evening, it gives you enough on there to really look at, pick or choose whatever you want. And then the key is, you usually put, or 99% of the time that I've seen, you put the stocks that are moving, that are trending well, that are a very hot sector. So I look at that all the time, and that's where I start. So then I bring up each of those symbols, on my chart, and I'll put in the numbers that you have, because you usually have, this is going to enter a pocket. It has room to 25. So I'll put that in there and then, follow that. And then I love the fact that in the morning, 9:15, 15 minutes prior to the market open, you go over the whole watch list, pick out the best 4 so that you think will move, and go from there. And another thing too is you're very, very calm. Your voice, even for people that might get a little riled up, right at market open, you're just very calming. And like the whole thing to me, very professionally done, and you're just a complete class act in my book.
Thank you. Yeah. So if I told you, Lori, 6 months ago, I said, join this program, you're going to make $25,000 in 6 months, what would you have said?
Well, of course, I would have had my doubts, and I am highly, highly impressed that you were able to get me to that point. Oh, another thing I failed to mention naturally is that you offer the one-on-one calls, which help out dramatically, and of course, and we log everything. You have us log all of our trades on a spreadsheet, and then when we have our calls, we go over those trades to see, well, where did I go wrong? What could I have done differently? Should I have waited a little longer to enter, to reach the pivot point that we were looking for? Did I not look at the pattern the right way? So, putting together all the factors, kind of, my doubts started to fade away as we went along, because I thought, wait, this is working. This is pretty good.
Love that. Yeah, I think naturally when I speak to people and I say, hey, the goal is to get you to anywhere from 5 to 15,000 per month. A lot of people are hesitant because they don't really know what's possible of, right. I mean, with you, we're still only at $600, and you're hitting numbers like 3, 4, 5. Can you imagine, a few months down the line when we increase that position size to 800, 900? That number is just drastically going to increase because it's a numbers game and a percentage.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
So once you get more comfortable with that, those numbers will move up drastically as well. But yeah, it's natural because we're always skeptical when it comes to stuff like this, especially online. But it's good to do these interviews with my students live because you guys can kind of just speak about it. I mean, 25,000. 24,400 in 6 months is pretty surreal. And to do it with $400 position size. And that's another thing. A lot of people come to me and they're like, hey, Ali, these students that are making this money, they probably have like a lot of money in their account, or they're trading with a lot of capital, right? So when you came to me, and I think you put $40,000 in the account, right? Technically, if we do 10% of that, which everyone online says you should do when you're taking a position, only trade 10% of the capital. That puts you at $4,000. That is what. So we're not doing that. We're only doing 400. And that's the thing. I don't care if people come to me and say, "Hey, I'm putting $100,000." It doesn't matter. The conversation that we have and where I think we should start is where we're going to start. Whether it's 0.1% of the account, or it's 0.1% of the account, or it's 1% of it. Whatever that is, that's where we start. I don't know. You don't need a specific amount of dollar size to trade. I mean, even if you had 4,000 in the account.
Oh yeah, that's what's nice about it. And as you had mentioned, it's just following the same thing. In the past, I've kind of jumped around from one strategy to the next, and yeah, it'll work for a little bit, and then I sort of say, oh well, maybe this isn't working as much as I thought. But I think with anything, as long as you stick to it, maintain your discipline, regimen, and again, emotions, keeping those at bay, and your commitment to it. That's a huge factor as well. Your commitment, and you have to have a goal in mind. Like, in other words, I want to retire early, or I want to help my family out with money, or it could be anything. So if you have all those factored in together, it makes it you have such a better chance of being successful.
100%, I agree. I think the consistency is a key thing, and that's like anything in anything, right? You want to lose weight, you got to be consistent. You want to change your health, you got to be so that is really important, which I think the reason why you do so well, and for anyone that's watching, you're consistent day in and day out. I see your name in the room. You're booking the calls regularly, so that's where that consistency comes, and the willingness to want to do better, and the goals that you've set kind of drives you to do that. And that's where most of our successful students have all those trait characteristics, like your consistency, discipline to show up every day and book those calls with me. That's where you see that. Awesome. So I'm not going to take too much of your time, but last thing here before I let you go. So 24,400 in 6 months. You hit a $5,000 month. What's the goal for the next few months here? Where do you think you want to go?
Well, just to take it slowly, I think it would be a really good goal just to be able to reach or surpass 5,000 a month on a regular basis.
Yep.
And then I think, there's small goals. And then I would like to jump up to, 6,000 a month regularly and obtain that. So I don't have these far outlandish goals. I like to, keep it within, a doable success level. So
I love that, and that's always what I say.
Yes.
So that's something that I do in business. That's what I do in every. You don't want to set unrealistic goals. You don't want to say, okay, well now I want to hit 20,000. Well, when you don't get there, you're going to get this. So I think having a goal of, hey, I've hit 5,000, but let me be consistent with 5,000, and then go to 6,000, and be consistent with 6,000, and then go 7,000. I think those are realistic goals, and it's definitely something.
And I do think too. It's great for individual investors. I just see so many younger folks getting into this, and I'm sure a lot of your students are a lot younger than I am. I don't have that desire to like the immediate gratification. The younger ones just like think, oh, I can make $10,000 in my first trade.
Right,
well,
right.
If you're going to have that in your mind, guess what? You get hurt. So it comes with aging, obviously, and experience, but it's a little advice for some of the younger folks.
Yes. Taking it slow is something that I did, but it only took me 4 years to figure out I needed to do that, and it cost me over $100,000. Yeah, taking it slow is one thing, and that's I always say. So like this day and age, social media is a blessing and a curse because
Yeah.
there's so much information out there, and you always see the surreal best. So naturally, you want to push yourself to get there so fast, and that's the same trap I fell into. Whereas I pushed hard and I pushed fast, and I really quickly I made $5,000, and very quickly I lost $100,000. So that's where the problem really lies. But Lori, thank you so much. I'm so excited to see where the next 6 months brings.
I am too. I'm definitely sticking with this, and I'm very, very happy.
Excellent, excellent. Before I let you go, any final thoughts for anyone watching or listening?
Well, just to reiterate, there are obviously dozens and dozens of services out there, and I've listened to many of their webinars. I still do to this day, and you know, they just promise you the world. They really, really do. Like this is the holy grail. You know, join our service, and you don't need anything else in the whole wide world. Well, obviously that's not true. You know, and you pose it in such a way that, hey, I'm being upfront with you. I'm telling you you're going to have to work at this, and I'm telling you it's not going to happen quickly. So again, that is why I'm sticking with your service, and I'm extremely happy with it. And I realize all the other ones, not all, most of the other ones out there, you know, it's you're wasting your money paying for their service. But this, I can honestly say, is the real deal, and I'm extremely excited about being a student here.
Excellent. Thank you so much. 24,406 months. Let's pump that up and keep going.
All right.
Thank you, Lori.